Welcome to Behind the Crown Podcast with your hosts, Brian Hudson and Josh Griffin. Sit back and enjoy these great stories and memories of the Kingsman Quartet.
Welcome to episode 11 of Behind the Crown Podcast with your host, Josh Griffin and Brian Hudson. Welcome, Brian. How you doing, sir?
Man, Josh, I'm doing great. How's things going with you?
Doing good. Hope you're doing well, sir.
I am.
Good deal.
Things are okay up here in Ohio, you know. Getting a little bit of heat today. Had a little thunderstorm out, and I had just got the grass cut, so I was happy that I got the grass cut. You know, I'd been several days since I'd cut the grass, and I had a couple of tigers and bears and lions out there in the grass. It was getting kind of high, so I thought I might ought to cut it. And I heard there was a little rain coming in our way. So I hadn't taken care of it. Anyway,
there you go. That's right. Goodness. Oh, mercy. Well, this podcast is dedicated to the message, the men, and the music of the mighty Kingsman Quartet. And we got another great guest lined up tonight, Brian. I'll tell you, I'm excited about this one. And
me too.
Looking forward to it. Yes, sir.
Me too. Well, before we introduce our special guest, Josh, we've had so many people make comments and send me personal messages about our useless information segment of the podcast. This is becoming a very popular segment, you know, because most people, mostly men, have lots of useless information in their head. You know, we talk about this last several episodes. And so, Josh, what piece of useless information do we feel like we need to share with the world today?
Yes. Rats have the ability to laugh when they are tickled.
Rats
rats
have the ability to laugh when they're tickled.
Well, I don't know who they paid to do that, but they didn't.
Well,
I didn't have a part of it.
How are we going to know that? Are you going to be the one picking up the rat and tickling him?
You know, I think I'll decline that job.
Well, you know, I've been in wrestle matches with Randy Miller before. I'm thinking that's about the same thing, maybe. I've had a few wrestle matches with Randy Miller in a hotel room or something, you know. But but anyway, that's for another podcast. We'll talk about that stuff when we have here one of these days. So
that's right. That's exactly right.
Well, Josh, who is our special guest today on the podcast?
Our very special guest is none other than Greg Fox, aka Little Ring, aka Kato from California. As I heard in one live video. But anyways, we'll have to get him to explain all that for us if he don't mind. But Mr. Greg Fox.
Hey, fellas.
Boss man, good to see you. I know you're boss man. I never did call you Little Ring. I always called you boss man. So.
Boss man, yeah. You boys, you can just call me anything you want to. You call me at dinner time.
That's exactly right. Yeah. That's exactly right.
Yeah, I've been everything from Pugsley Jr. to Little Ring to Boss Man to Kato.
Yeah.
Knothead, Young'un, you name it, I've been it.
Yeah. Well, especially when you're on the Kingsman bus, who knows what you're going to be called, you know? Yeah.
Like again, just make sure you call me at dinner time.
Right. Exactly. Well, man, boss man, we do appreciate you joining us on the podcast tonight. We're going to get a lot of information from you, but first of all, I want to ask a
hope
question.
It ain't useless information.
Well, no, there could be some useless information.
Okay, you know, I was figuring since you guys are tickling rats and things, there may be some useless information coming. So I hope it's useful.
Of the three of us, I'm going to say Josh is going to be one tickling some rats. I ain't going to be tickling no rats. You know, I can promise you that. You know,
I may catch them. And you were talking about lions and tigers and bears in your yard.
Yeah,
I'm done catching coons and bears in my yard.
Yeah, you've had
up my bird feeders.
Yeah, you've had some episodes. You've had some instances here recently of animals. You know, of course, you live in the high country, son. So I mean,
yep, that's right.
You know, you're up there in North Carolina, and I mean, that's an everyday occurrence. You know, you go to the grocery store and you see bears in the grocery store in North Carolina.
Yeah, I rode the bus with 9 bears one time.
Oh my! Well, that's
just say it. Maybe not bears, wild animals. Just say that.
Yeah, I'll go with wild animals. I'll go with wild animal for sure. Well, let me ask you. You know, most people remember you from your years with the Kingsmen. You know, you not only playing drums but producing with the Kingsmen, you know, part ownership of the group for several years. But how did you How did you develop? Where did you develop your love for music? I mean, where did that come from? Even though your dad, Eldridge, was owner of the Kingsmen and a baritone singer, but individually, where did you develop your love for the music?
I guess my love for the music really started with my love for the fellas.
Yeah.
When I was a child. I was born in 1963, and I know I'm telling my age. I'm an old man, but the boys, Dad would take me on that bus back with Frank and Jack and Raymond and Reese McKinney, the original bass singer, and then of course Ray Talley. And I grew to love those guys.
Yeah.
And then of course they, and with my dad, working not just with Kingsman, but with Jake and Hovey and the fellows writing all the songbook music and staff. It just was just imploded on, it just, and so I really grew up in it. But my love for the music didn't start till I always played ball all my life, baseball, basketball, football, golf, whatever. And my dad made me take piano lessons. He said, "You're going to take piano lessons." And so I started piano about, 4 or 5 years old. And I took piano lessons for 12 years. And today I can probably play chopsticks. Is about it. So I know where all the chords are and everything.
Yeah.
But I really didn't have the love for music. I was so much involved with ball and things and the fellas,
Right.
And then of course later on when the Ton of Fun started, I grew up. I started band in my 6th grade year of elementary school.
Okay.
I played drums, played snare, but I also played the baritone.
Okay.
The mini bass, mini tuba.
Yeah. Right.
And so I was in the band and fell in love with music as a whole.
Okay.
And then that's where the music really started. I didn't know that I was going to play drums. I actually, the funny part about it was when I was a sophomore in high school, I was playing drums and marching in the band, and my high school band director named John Lackey, and he was a military band. We always wore military uniforms. Everything was real tight. And we had a couple of guys in the, but I was playing drums at that. I was already in the drum line.
Okay.
I still played some baritone and little things like that, but most of I'd already become a drummer.
Yeah.
And we had 2 guys graduated from the horn section, one of them being a tuba player.
Okay.
So he told me I didn't have enough rhythm to play drums anymore.
Oh, man.
He strapped a sousaphone on me, the big tuba.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and here I was 5 foot nothing, 100 and no pounds, carrying that big old sousaphone around. And so that, and then through the band, I met Tony Kingsman, who played on many of our records, and he was in our band.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was in our high school band, and he was 2 years ahead of me.
Okay.
I kind of me and him hit it off good, and we played in the jazz band together. I would play percussion or whatever, and he would play the kit, or just that's where the music all started. And a cool story about that is my my sophomore year in the spring, we went to Orlando, Florida, the jazz band did, and played in a jazz competition.
Okay.
And at that time, Anthony had just come with us not long. In fact, he was a junior in high school, and he was playing piano for our jazz band.
Wow.
Tony,
wow.
And we actually won the nationwide jazz festival in the band shell down there in Orlando. So
I can see that. Happening. Yeah.
And so it was, but that's where the music started. It's
that's pretty cool.
In school, like others, and of course I continued to, stay. I play enough bass guitar.
Okay.
To get by. And Josh, you're a bass player, so you're a bass player. I'm just a hacker, and enough piano just to kind of get the chords out. And I know triads, listening with harmony and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it all started back in elementary school.
Wow.
As far as the music, but the music was birthed, I would say, out of riding that bus. I'd see those guys sing and play, and they would take me to Atlanta and see all the quartets or Charlotte, just as a child, so.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. Goodness. Greg, who were some of your drummer influences? I know there's a bunch of drummers back in the day with the live bands, back in the 70s and 80s and 90s and all, but who were some of your, not only gospel music, but other genres of music as well?
Well, like I said, Tony was a huge influence on me.
Mm-hmm.
He was, like I said, we played in the band together. But as far as the music outside of band and things like that, I was a huge Thrasher Brother fan, and of course the Blackwood Brothers and the Stamps at that time. Billy Blackwood was playing. So Billy was. I was always watch Billy, or I'd be on the side of the stage and watch the Thrashers, and they had a drummer. He played trombone, and which I had the same fingerings as my baritone. So but Goldie Ashton was his name.
Goldie Ashton.
And he was incredible. He would play the trombone and drums at the same time. He actually taught me a lot of different rhythms, a lot of bossa novas and waltzes, different things to play in the waltz, different kind of ghost note thing that I really, and he spent time with me. Here I was just a little old kid watching, and trying to see all the stuff going on. Mark Ellerby with the Oak Ridge Boys was a big, Rick Goodman. I always loved Rick. Goldie spent time with me, and I'll always remember that. He taught me as much about drumming as I learned from music later on as I grew through with my dad and with Dick Bruno.
Yeah.
And then, and then our drummers, we had a 450-pound drummer named John Brune.
Yeah.
Man, I have his little piccolo snare from the 70s.
Oh, wow.
The 60s. And Big John was amazing. He played bass for us as well. He was our, he played bass for a ton of fun before Big Jim McCauley came. And then Big Jim came, and John moved back to the drums back in the Colonial Mobile Home days with John Perrick and those guys and stuff. Before Charles Abey, that was before Nick came along. And then Chester Arms, who was the drummer right before I came. He was always, he was very influential. He spent time with me. I still have a little splash, 10-inch splash Zildjian cymbal that he gave me.
Wow. That's cool.
And stuff like that. But I would say the one that helped me and nurtured me the most would be Goldie. He spent time with me when he didn't have to.
Yeah.
I had a lot of heroes from, Tracy Richardson and Bruce Droit, who was left-handed, played right-handed, right-handed kick.
Wow.
Played for the Hemp Hills and later on Rusty Goodman Family Band. And James Gordon Freeze played bass. He was a drummer when he first, and so James was, spent a lot of time with just talking on the side of the stage, Ronnie Seago was playing drums for the Seagulls at that time.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so all those guys, I didn't emulate them, but I watched them like a hawk. I see what they were doing, and tried to develop my own thing. But Goldie, he was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. Let me also ask you this, Greg. When did you know that you wanted to play for the Kingsmen, play drums for the Kingsmen?
I didn't really know that I wanted to play until they didn't have a drummer. And I know that kind of sounds weird.
Yeah.
But Dad never pushed me to do it. He never did that. He never wanted, and that same thing with my brother and my sister. He never pushed us to do, he wanted us to be ourselves and never forced us into the music. But when in the about 75, I guess it was somewhere along in there, the huge fuel crisis came along during, and so in all Dad's time, we never had to let anybody go. We had people leave.
Yeah.
But Dad had to let our drummer, Chester, and our bass guitar player, Bob Conley, he had to let them go because financially, fuel prices were crazy and things. And of course, Bob Conley is still today Chester's on the West Coast. He's out in California, but Bob, he lives down in Hickory or Morganton, and he and I stay close. And Bob, man, he can tell you right now. In fact, Bob, I have dinner with him, Robin and I and Kathy, and we just do some things together. Bob brought me, I guess it's been almost a year ago now, the acoustic guitar that my dad gave him when he played with them back in the early 70s. The Just in Time record has both Chester and Bob on that. That was the only album cover that they're both on. Of course, Chester, he's on the Made News in Heaven record and a couple of those albums. But that's when they left, I kind of just fell into it. We were working. I was on the bus and just riding the bus, no big deal. And Big Jim said, "Hey, it's second round. Why don't we let Greg play drums for us?" And at the time, I think I was using Dean Hopper's drums. We were working with
okay.
And Dean was still playing drums at that time. That was back way back.
Yeah.
And he said, "Okay," and it worked. It worked out. And so that's when I started playing. And of course, Nick Bruno came along, and then Nick, man, he spent so much time with me. He just, in fact, my first album, they had Mr. Huffman, who was our producer at the time, Joe Huffman. Mm-hmm. He had set aside drum tracks to replace my drums on Chattanooga.
Really?
And Nick and Jim both went to bat, said, "No, he can do it. He can do it." And,
wow.
And they did. And they kept them. Nothing was replaced and things. So, but that's when I knew I wanted to be the drummer.
Wow.
I loved it, but I never had aspirations of doing it until they didn't have one, and I thought, let's give this a try.
Yeah, give it a shot. Give it a shot.
And so I gave it a shot, and as they say, the rest is history.
Yeah.
Well, what I like about that is, your dad didn't pressure you into.
Yep.
No.
He didn't pressure you into it. He didn't guilt you into it. You know what, Greg? I don't know what we're going to do if we don't have you. And a lot of kids, I know a lot of young kids that are guilted into trying music, and they might be able to do it, but when they get old enough to choose, they don't want to do it. And they don't have nothing to do with it ever again. So
that's exactly right. My dad, he was, and of course Jim and Nick, they wanted me to go all the time.
Yeah.
I never got to play drums on the stage with John Perrick except one time.
Okay.
My time was spent with Ernie, and we were doing Just a Little Closer Home.
Okay.
And the Upper Window album. And now I played in the summertime all the time.
Yeah.
And back then, my mother would take me over to Knoxville and meet the fellows, or to Raleigh or to Greensboro. Yeah. Or back then we had an airline called Piedmont Airlines, Storm Door Airlines. Yeah. It was real cheap to fly. So Dad and I, as my senior year in high school, I did one of my English projects was to write a story about the Kingsmen.
Okay.
And so we pull all the date books, and I only missed about 25% of the dates my 3 years in high school. But
yeah. Wow.
The only thing he pressured me to do was, "You're going to finish high school."
Yeah.
And some of the other, nothing wrong. He said, "There's nothing wrong with some of the other fellows and girls that finish by correspondence, but no, you're going." And I'm so thankful he made me do that. So much as far as being a team player and being a part of a unit, which helped me be a part of the Kingsman unit.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. Well, let me. While you were playing, I got some stats here.
Okay.
Kingsman stats. Let's see. Chattanooga Live 1978 was album of the year.
Yep.
And I know you'll correct me here if any of these are wrong. Southern Gospel album of the year, Out of the Past 1980.
Yep.
Okay. And
that won a double award.
And I'm going to ask you a question about that in a second. We'll come back to that.
Yep.
Singing News Fan Awards, favorite group 1980 and 85.
Yep.
Traditional male quartet 81.
Yes, sir.
Favorite band 78, 81 through 84, then 86 through 97.
Wow.
Okay. Song of the Year, Beulah Land, in 1981, Sweet Beulah Land. And also Wish You Were Here in 1992. and the Kingsmen were inducted in the Gospel Music Hall of Fame in 2000.
Right.
So let me ask you a question about From Out of the Past. I can't remember. I remember hearing the story on the bus.
Okay.
When you guys were getting ready to do the photo shoot from Out of the Past.
Yes.
It was either you or Berger, I heard, tried to get a suntan for the album cover, and you got I don't know which one. One of you got sunburned.
Anthony had only been with us.
Okay.
Nick Bruno was still producing us with Dad and Jim.
Okay.
He produced that record along later with Live Naturally.
Right.
But this was that was Anthony's first album with us.
Okay.
And so there wasn't tanning bed back then. Anthony just wanted to. I guess he just wanted to have a tan.
Okay.
His first album cover, and he wanted a tan. Well, in Asheville, this is 79, I guess, or maybe 80. Just close. No, it's 79 because Mark hadn't gone with Cathedrals yet, and there wasn't no tanning beds. There wasn't no. So he went to Eckerd's drugstore and bought a light bulb. It was about this big. It was huge. It was on a yellow stand, and it had a timer on it.
Yeah.
And man, bless his heart, he blistered his face. It was sad. I mean, it was one of those things. It was so bad that it was like, you might need to go to the doctor, dude. I mean,
wow.
If you look on the back of the album cover, you'll see, or the front, you'll see Anthony. He's got on some. Anthony didn't wear glasses. He's got on glasses. If you look close enough, you'll see that he's got on. I'm pretty sure we had to use him with glasses.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was Anthony. It wasn't me.
Okay. Well, I remember hearing that story years ago, and I thought, I'm going to ask you.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure I had that story out. It's Berger that did that. Okay.
Yeah, Anthony did that. Bless his heart. It was so bad. I'm telling you, and he knew we're doing an album cover, and he felt so bad. Now we can't go here. No, you're going to do the album cover.
Yeah.
Sorry. They put powder on him, made him up. Tried to hide it best they could.
Wow.
It's a wonder he didn't have burns from that like he did when he fell when he was a youth.
Yeah.
Peter, his story.
Right.
Tremendous story, burning his hands and his face and things. It's a wonder he didn't have scars from that. But
we're gonna have Kingsman fans going and grabbing that record album and looking at that picture after hearing this episode about
and that's on the back of the cover. They did a lot of individual shots and things. Yeah. Gary Diller's dad, Bud, was there. Okay. They wanted smoke coming out of this was way before you could go back and post.
Photoshop. Yeah.
So they wanted fire coming out of this old tractor old Bud Diller, he just got up on the tractor. We found a bunch of hay where it'd be green and put it in there, and Bud started up the fire. We had smoke for the album cover.
That is so cool.
Yeah, man.
It's so cool. Oh,
this was forced.
And this is why we call it Behind the Crown Podcast.
Yeah,
we find out stuff that we had no idea about.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And for me, I love this stuff. Long before I was ever a member of the Kingsman, man, I was a Kingsman fan. So I love to hear this stuff. I do.
Yeah.
This is great information. Not useless, but great Kingsman information. I love it. Thank you, Greg. Yeah.
So cool. Yes, sir. So cool. Yeah. Let me ask you. Go ahead, Josh. You got the next question here. Sorry.
Yeah. Greg, did you have a favorite song that you played drums on while you were with the Kingsmen, maybe live or in the studio as well when you did a studio recording with them?
Old Ship is High.
Acapella, yeah.
It's acapella.
Crazy.
No, I'm sorry. There was always something about the lovely name of Jesus.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not a fast song, and it's not a high song. It's just so dynamic. I love songs. I learned this from Goldie, and I learned it from Big Jim and Nick and Dad and all the choir. But the dynamics of that song, it's just, it gets big when it needs to get big, and then it comes down to that. But that heart in the song, I love playing songs with heart. Whether it's tempo, I'll Live Again, or I Stand Upon the Rock, or Standing on the Rock of Ages from Live Naturally. I love all those songs. They're not one special, but Lovely Name of Jesus has such a meaning for me outside of the drums. I think I love to play that. I mean, when we did the reunions, I couldn't wait. And that was on every reunion, whether it was recorded or not. When we did it down in Chattanooga and Birmingham, and then later on, even Ray put together a 50th reunion, and a lot of the fellows were already gone, and Jim called in and there's some video out there about that. We didn't, Brandon came to me and said, "Hey, bud, you know these tunes better than me. Help me out here." And so I made the whole set, and there wasn't going to be a set, even though Junior wasn't there, even though Squire couldn't be at that one, we did, and it's just, that's that Lovely Name of Jesus. And it's beyond the drumming part. Drumming wise, I don't know, I enjoyed playing this, and later on some of the split tracks and the big orchestrations and hearing, that kind of thing. But there wasn't a favorite drumming song, except for that one sticks out in my heart because of the heart. The song that goes up and comes down, and it's just in the meaning of the song. I could just sit back there and lay in that pocket with Nick and Big Jim McCauley. Beaver and Dad playing acoustic, or the Fender Rhodes. It was just like a groove you couldn't fall out of. I loved playing songs when Tim Lovelace was here. Tim and Tim Sturrett and Randy Miller and Rory, man, those were grooves that were just amazing. Just as a drummer, one of my hero drummers outside of gospel music would be Jeff Porcaro, who played for Toto, but he also played on everything in the 70s. Anything that came out of the West Coast, Jeff Porcaro played on it from, and all the little ghost notes. And that's the things I learned from him and Goldie. I play straight 8, 2-4, 2-4, 2-4, but every once in a while I might fall into something else,
throw something else on there. Lovely Name of Jesus. Let me ask you, I've played drums for years, and I'm no Greg Fox by any stretch of the imagination, but
thank God.
What was one of your least favorite songs? I'll tell you.
Shake Hands with a Poor Boy.
Yes. Shake Hands with a Poor Boy.
Man. I mean, it was a wonderful song. I love the song, but the playing this song, it's just 3-4. It's so boring. I fall apart. I can sit back and play it in my sleep and just, yes, absolutely. I don't mind 3/4. I don't mind 6/8. I don't mind that. But boy, that was a boring song. And no offense, I mean, it was a wonderful song.
Right, yeah.
And we played it just about, if not every night, just about every night. And Brian.
Oh yeah.
Even after you came, we never. I mean, I was part of Kingsman from 1976 to 2001.
Yeah.
We never did the same program twice.
No.
One time, and I'll tell you if that ever comes up. I'll tell you that story later. But it's only been one time in those 76 to 2001.
Wow. Yeah.
That we played the same set, and that's tough for band members.
Oh yeah.
And Hamill, I mean, he might call something at Reese and Raymond and Jack and Frank something. You had to know when you came with the Kingsmen, and Brian, you can attest.
Yes, sir.
You had to know 40 years material or 50 years, whatever year it was. You had to know it, or you had to fake it really well.
Yeah. If you didn't know, you had to fake it real good.
A lot of watermelon with the microphone. Oh, bad. You had a lot of different things. Squire Junior used to, once in a while, he would go. You could tell he was somewhere else. The Spirit had moved him somewhere else.
Right.
We'd get off the stage and somebody say, "Did you forget the words?" He said, "Yeah, I forgot the words. I just said amen, pray about it. Just cry till you get done. Cry till you get done."
Yep.
Oh, mercy gracious.
Well, boss man, what was one of your favorite things about being on the road? What was one of your favorite things about being on the road?
The fellas.
Yeah.
I mean, to this day, I call them my boys,
Yeah.
The boys or the guys or the fellas.
Yeah.
I mean, when I stepped on that bus for the first time and Reese McKinney as a toddler, I mean, I might not even been talking. I've got pictures around and, him tossed me up to John Parrott. Man, John Parrott is and still today my hero. And he used to outrun me backwards, and I was pretty quick fella.
Okay.
He was an athlete, dude, and he would aggravate the snot out of me and take my head and just rub it like but then I'd go chase him, and he'd outrun me backward, just tease me, and I probably can still do it to this day.
Wow.
But the fellas, I mean, the things we did on stage were great, and that was wonderful times. We did the things we did in the studio and just around. But I'm telling you, the bus when we were just we just Dad one time was up in New York on our way somewhere, and we just took a day off, and he took us to a football game. Buffalo Bills football game. Parker thought that was, but go to games or go see sights, That didn't happen a lot in the earlier days with a ton of fun and things like that, because they were laying so much groundwork.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It got to where, and that, bless his heart, my daddy, he's liable to double book us on 15 dates a year, So that was some of the things. They would split the quartet up, John, and they would go and do both dates, or I've been sitting in an airplane in a Cessna 182, and they can't get the door closed because Big Jim's so big he couldn't get the door all the way closed. It's just the fellas. I love the music. I love the material is everything. Media, those songs is that's what the Kingsmen are about.
Yeah. I agree.
I mean, and if it's the songs, and people remember, they remember Big Jim, they remember John, they remember my dad, Squire, Ernie, Brian. You just go right down the line. But what they remember those songs,
right?
And so when we'd sit down and hash out a song, we'd sit around and listen to songs and stuff. And just being with the fellas, I mean, they're like brothers and uncles. And at one time, I didn't have one dad riding the bus. I had 8 dads riding the bus. It was great, man. They took me in. They never treated me like the boss's kid. Yeah. My dad, I thank my dad for that. He made me drive more miles.
Yeah.
And he made me carry more equipment. Didn't like it at the time, but now I can look back and I can see, he was right. Those guys, I didn't know why I was doing that, but he knew, And I don't know if any of the guys. Brian, maybe he might say that he's the boss's kid, but
no,
I was never. They never treated me that way, and so it hurts when we lose one. It hurts bad. It's not. Sure. They're not my blood brothers, but they are my brothers.
Yeah,
and my dads and my uncles, and so it hurts.
Yeah. Well, what was one of your least favorite things about the road? And I can probably tell you what. Almost, I've asked this question to every one of the Kingsman alumni, and even the current group on the podcast. I always ask, what was one of your least favorite things about the road? And your answer is probably the same as answer they're going to give, but I'm curious to see yours.
Things I miss at home.
Yeah.
What I'd miss being gone.
Yeah.
But as far as once I got out there, the worst thing that was it. I mean, I was always excited to go.
Yeah.
I was always more excited to get back home.
Right.
But that home was what I missed the most, and there's things that you can never recover. You can never go back to.
Yeah.
And so, but as far as being out on the road, I don't know. I love driving. I enjoy driving, so it wouldn't have been driving.
Yeah.
I guess maybe. I guess the hurry up and wait kind of things.
I can see that.
The hurry up and wait. You're waiting to sing it outside at a big outdoor deal, and then it pouring the rain, and here you are sitting there waiting to go and do your thing. And
Waycross.
There you go, Josh. Or I'd be out under the soundboard waiting. When I was out on the road, I loved it all. There was some times that we got some food over the years that probably wasn't really good. That we had to,
yeah.
you know, that was, you smiled and said, "Oh, thank you so much.
Oh,
Can I have some more of that?" Man, those people, I mean, everybody took us in so good.
Yeah.
But the people, I tell you right now, the people in Alabama, even to this day, you know, they have Gold City as their home quartet and things now.
Yeah.
But you'd be hard pressed to find a house in Alabama we didn't eat at, and so somebody that wouldn't claim the Kingsmen as their quartet. That's true. Even there, even now that Gold City's there. But yeah, you know, there were some times that, you know, maybe food, but there's so many good foods that you can't really point them out.
That's true. Yeah, there's true.
Oh, Miss Greg, what you been doing since you come off the road back in 2001? What's been keeping you busy?
Well, I took care of my dad for, you know, that's why I came off the road to start with, and he was with us until November 2002. But after that, you know, it's just, you know, my wife and I, we live 2 doors down from mom and dad. And we, you know, finished raising kids, and grandkids started coming along. And then I was on the road with quite a few artists and then I was driving a bus and doing some sound with different groups, both secular and gospel. And then I got a phone call in December, I guess, no, 04. Sorry, 04. And Squire said, "Hey, buddy, can I meet you at the Cracker Barrel and have supper?" I said, "Absolutely."
Yeah.
And at that time, I was on the road with a big time artist, you know, a stadium group, I might say, or person. And he called me and said, "I need some help, buddy." I said, "Okay, what do you need?" And he said, "Can you come with me and help me drive and sing and do some things?" I said, "Absolutely." Yeah. So I called the guys and I told them, said, "Look, well, we're supposed to be at such and such in New York City." And yada. I said, "Look, fellas, this is a guy that led me to the Lord.
Yeah.
And he's like my second dad, and I don't have one here anymore." And so I was with Squire for 5 years. Well, 4.5, right? Just about 4.5 years. And then Robin and I moved to the high country of North Carolina, up here in the Boone area. And I went to work for the hospital. So I love that. Supervisor of materials management, as they say, you know, everything from drugs to diapers, I had my hands on it. So getting it out to the people in the different areas of the hospital. And I love that because Dad always raised us to be servants.
Yeah.
And so I felt like I was back serving again. You know, that's what I missed when I left the road. I missed the fellas, and I met those people out in front of the footlights, you know.
Yeah.
And so I was doing that, and then I woke up the 25th day of May in 2015 and couldn't get out of bed. 9 back surgeries later.
Oh my!
I'm here, but I got 2 new knees, and I can mow my own yard this year and early last year, garden. So I'm thankful. I do some traveling. I do travel with. There's a country gospel group called Carolina. I do some traveling with them, and I travel with Balsam Range and do some of their sound. I travel with a fellow by the name of Tim Shelton and Newfound Road, and do some bluegrass and play drums. Yeah. And 2 weeks ago, I drove a bus for the business. So I just tell them I'm a gun for hire anymore. I can't. I love it. I've gotten to do both of the big and live reunions. Mm-hmm. And anytime anybody's around, I try to go, you know, to see them and lift them up, you know, when I can. Yep. Drove for the Hoppers for a little while. Again, I just sit up there on the mountain with my 3 dogs that I love dearly, and my life partner and my wife, and the one that I love so much. Yeah. If it wasn't for her, pal. Yeah. This old man, you might be talking him in the epitaph, to be honest with you. Well, and I don't say that in jest. I mean that. Yeah. She came along in my life when I needed it, and then it was. She's a good woman. She's a good woman. She's a blessing, and she cooks. It's a wonder I don't weigh 950 pounds. She's the greatest cook. It's my grandma and my mama. Yeah. I never thought I'd say this, but she cooks as good. My mother even gave her one of her cast iron pots to fix us cornbread in.
Oh,
So,
come on now. Come on. Come on.
and she's actually out on the back porch with some beans, canning beans. And so
mercy.
it's just, we love it here.
That's awesome.
In Miss Asheville, we have 3 of our children there, and one's in Lynchburg. And our grandchildren, 7 or 9 grandchildren there, still around Asheville. And mother, of course, she's 86. My sister and niece and nephew. But you know what? I tell everybody, it's going to take a big old Bernie Bush to get me off this mountain. So, and I know he can send it. And if he does, I'll follow.
He can.
It's going to have to be a big one.
That's right.
Well, let me ask you, boss man, you and your dad discovered and hired so many famous and well-known gospel singers throughout the years. And my question is, what was your criteria, and maybe what was you and your dad's criteria for Kingsman? I mean, yes, you got to have a degree of talent, and you got to be able to do, what is expected of you. But did you have an idea, criteria of what a Kingsman should be?
Yeah, pretty much. It was the heart.
Okay.
The heart. It was always that was the first thing. We had numerous names that you would know.
Yeah.
Come through there before we hired the person that we actually hired. Lots of that. But it was always the heart. It was always what was in their heart and what was on their heart. We could watch them sing a song, and I think I'm blessed that I got that from my dad.
Yeah,
he could hear things in their voices, and just the feel, the entire feel. Oh, that's a Kingsman right there. They could sing it high, or they could sing it loud, or they could do the part.
Yeah,
might play the part, do this music, but it had everything to do with the part. That's because that's what 90% of it is. Because you're only on stage 10% of the time, if that much.
True.
And you can take people working. Jim Hamill was amazing at listening, and we never hired anyone to be somebody else. We did. We wanted them to be them. You came along. We didn't hire you to be Tim Sir.
Right.
When Tim came along, we didn't hire him to be Arthur. Jerry Martin, I didn't hire him to be Chris. We didn't hire little Ernie to be John Parrott.
Right.
John Parrott to be Jerry. I mean, it was always we wanted them to have their own identity.
Yes.
And then and with that and the heart, what made them a Kingsman.
Yeah.
That was the biggest criteria, was their heart. No doubt.
Well, I for one appreciate you all didn't expect me, like you mentioned a moment ago. I came in behind Tim Surratt, and Tim Surratt, in my opinion, is one of the greatest singers ever. I mean, he can sing like a bird. Yep. Incredible singer. And you never expected me. You didn't want me to be Tim. You wanted me to be me. Yep. And I appreciate that, because I couldn't be Tim. I had heard Tim from the years, that he was with the group.
Right.
And I loved his voice. And I loved Jack Toney. I loved Jim Hamill's voice. I loved a little bit of Ivan Parker and Mike English and Tim Surratt and all these guys. And I pulled a little bit of their voices and made my own. But there was never a thing. I never had the expectancy that you're expecting me to sing like Tim. And I appreciate that.
You are you.
Right. And again, I appreciate that. I do.
We could tell who you liked and the tones you had, and musically, and this and that and other. And that has an issue. I mean, sure, you can't just, but the most important part was you had your own identity. And you had the heart. I mean, that's it. When we heard you sing "He Touched Me,"
okay.
Heart. Tim Surratt said, "Look out, Greg's having a moment." When we heard you sing "He Touched Me," shackled by, I mean, and I've heard 1,000 people sing that song.
Yeah.
That's how you got hired.
Wow, I did not know that. I did not know.
We sang "He Touched Me."
I remembered we did a little, and during my audition, my first tenure with you guys, I remember doing a little bit of "Stand Up on the Rock."
Yep.
And a little bit of "How Great Thou Art," but I couldn't remember the other song, and it was "He Touched Me."
We asked you. We'd always ask this. I guess we'd always ask whoever it was.
Yeah.
For them to sing, what do you want to sing?
Yeah.
And you did not know all our stuff, and you were Heartland Boys.
Yeah.
And Dad said, "Hey, let's just do an old hymn. What do you want to do?" And you said, "Let's do He Touched Me." And when you said, "Shackled by," that was it. You didn't even have to finish the line. We looked at each other. And shook our head. That was it.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, there was a great tenor singer who went on to do wonderful things, and just but when we heard Gary Shepard step up to the microphone, in my dad's den, me and Dad and Big Jim, he'd sung all the Glory Roads and did all that.
Yeah.
You know, he said, "What do you want to sing?" Dad sit down at the piano, and he said, "Do you know Walk With Me?" He said, "Yeah, I know that old song." He said, "What key you doing?" He said, "I don't know. I ain't got a clue." He said, "You start singing." He said, "Walk with me, talk with me." And it was over.
That was it.
Hamill looked at it, Daddy, and we looked at each other, and we finished.
Yeah, that was it.
We knew.
Wow.
And it's just, it was that way with everybody.
Yeah.
And they were, because one, they had the heart, first and foremost, and they had their own thing. You know, we didn't, how do you follow somebody like Nick Bruno with Anthony Berger? But how do you follow Anthony Berger with another Anthony Berger?
Yeah.
True.
You just don't do that.
How
much pressure does that put on that person?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, my heavens. Would you like to follow John Parrott?
No way.
But everybody loved Little Ernie.
Yeah.
Ernie was everybody's hero,
That's true.
And then Shep had to follow him.
Yeah.
And so they got enough pressure.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
I can, I mean that with every person in the group.
Yeah.
I use the tenor as a thing, but you just got to have the heart, and you got to have the individual person. You can make a team play. You can tell a team player if they're there. You can tell it. You can read it in their heart. You can read it, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's right. Greg, we've got two more items here, and we'll wrap it up. But tell about was there a special moment in concert, maybe at a church auditorium or whatever, where God just showed up and God just took over and blessed the whole crowd, blessed y'all on stage? Any moment like that come to mind?
Well, man, tons. Chattanooga Live. It's not on the record, but we're singing "Lovely Name of Jesus," and we shut it down. Yeah. James Blackwood comes in from the wing. We have an altar service right there in the middle of our live out.
Wow.
When I got saved, Squire was preaching. That's a very special moment in my life. He was talking about and singing, "Is not this the land of Beulah?" Beulah Land hadn't even been released yet. We hadn't recorded it yet, and he hadn't recorded it out.
Yeah.
And so that was La Mesa, California. I grabbed Dad in one hand and Squire in the other and said, "This is my time." And they led me to the Lord.
Yes.
We used to sing at a place up in Marion, Illinois called the Truth Seekers Homecoming. They were a group from up that area. We were there many times. They had it for three days. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then it got to be 2 days, Friday, and 2 programs on Saturday. Right. And we were having one of those things. It was one of those nights, Brian and Josh. Yeah. It was just, it didn't matter what. I mean, we didn't do excuses, but if we'd have done excuses, I think God was just moving,
Yeah.
I'm so thankful for Jim, and later on Dad and Parker and Squire, whoever was running the stage. Mm-hmm. They had the heart to know when to get out of the way.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And so it was just one of those nights, and for some reason, Hamill called on me to sing "Gone." And man, I probably hadn't sung "Gone" in, Lord, 10, 15 years. Who knows? I don't even remember when I'd sung it last.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he called me up there to sing it, and nothing I did, again, the material, the songs, but it was just one of those great moments. And it was just a real, I got my hairs are standing up on my end right now. It's just one of those moments, a great moment. And that was, I think God moved in that entire concept, and I can tell you times, I mean, my goodness, I've seen Brian stand up and sing "Come See the Rising Sun."
Yeah.
It was over. Had nothing to do with his performance, which was always, if there's ever been a lead singer, this includes Hamill and Squire, you name it, whoever. If there's ever been a lead singer with this quartet, with this group, it's that man sitting right there.
Yeah.
He's my lead singer. I mean, I love Brian Hudson as a man. But he was special, but he was a professional when he hit the stage. But man, when he sung that song in Gainesville, Georgia, it was over. It was over, not because of his performance, but he got out of the way and he let the Lord move. And, that's when those are special times to tell you one, man, you ask me that same question tomorrow and I can reel off 24,
probably does.
And I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful.
Yep.
For that.
Yeah.
Yep. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Brian.
Yeah.
You want to talk a little bit about the different alumni?
that
Greg talked with, and then we'll wrap it up after that. This has been great, but we'll do that.
Boss man, we've had a lot of Kingsman alumni pass away, and you talked about a couple guys already. You talked a little bit about Berger and Mac and even Charles Abe. You mentioned him a couple of things, but you have any? I've got a list of some guys. I'm just going to ask you if you have a couple thoughts or maybe even a funny story about some of these guys. How about Big Ed Crawford? How was Big Ed traveling with? He was a great big,
hardest working
big voice baritone singer.
He was that, but he was the hardest working Kingsman ever. From day one to the day out. Wow. Never been a harder worker. Never carried more equipment. Never driven more miles. Never worked. And Big Ed had a big old voice, but it was a trained voice. He had to learn. He had to, he worked at. I mean, we lost our bass player. Wayne, Jim McCauley left, and Wayne was singing baritone, and we wasn't going to put him back on bass. And Big Ed puts his hand up and says, "Hey, I can play bass." Well, he ain't never picked up a bass in his life. By Thursday, when we went out of town, he knew it, and he played. Yeah, and he did he hit some dingers? He hit some dingers, absolutely. But my dad and myself, there's never been a harder worker in this group than Ed Crawford. I'm telling you. Wow. And that physically, emotionally, he was a Kingsman through and through.
Yeah. Well, one thing I appreciate about Big Ed Crawford, and I think we mentioned this on an earlier podcast, when, we do the funny stuff would happen organically. Yeah. It would happen one night and then, hey, that's going to work. We might use that again. And what I appreciate about Big Ed Crawford, some of the stories and the things that happened on stage, he would act like it was the first time he'd ever heard it.
Oh, every time.
Even though you've been doing that comedy thing every night for 200 days in a row.
Yep. Every
time it would happen, he would act like it was the first time it ever happened.
Belly laugh.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, he was a true pro. I mean, if we were always taught, if you don't laugh unless I lead you into laughing, or if that audience is laughing, you don't just, and you don't talk to one another backstage. You who's singing or playing or whatever, those people.
Yes.
In that vein of being Ed. I've only seen him one time, not to try to hide the laugh, but he knew he wasn't supposed to laugh.
Gotcha.
We were working in Opryland, USA, which was a huge thing in Memorial Day back in the day when Opryland was a theme park.
Yeah.
Same thing. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and the Kingsmen worked every show. Well, they started out in a little theater by the lake. It was a little small pavilion type place where the train would run behind you. We'd have to stop singing, and it's so it got so big that weekend did for the Opryland. They decided they got Chevrolet to build what they call the Chevy Geo Theater.
Okay.
So while that was being built, they had us out in what's the parking lot of the Opryland Hotel. Now it was just in a park, big old huge white tent, seat 10,000 people, and it's just going crazy. And this wasn't long after we did stand up. In fact, it was actually the week that was actually the Friday night or the Saturday after we were in Jackson, Mississippi doing Mississippi Live.
Okay.
And Big Jim and Ed, they always had this thing going. If it was golf or whatever, they always had this. I mean, Ed thought Hamill was the stuff. I mean, that was his.
Yeah.
And so they had this diet thing going on.
Okay.
So Hamill's going through all his introductions, and there's 10,000 people out there. And he said, "How about Big Ed here? He's lost 100 pounds. Don't he look good?" And, as we say, he got the little golf clap,
Yeah.
took his bow and all this stuff. And then within the next breath, Hamill said, "Well, what about me?" He said, "I've lost 80-something pounds. How do I look?" And then, of course, get your little golf clap. Yeah, everything's good. But he said, "Well, it's a great diet. You can eat anything you want to eat, but you got to eat it with 4 naked fat people." And that's exactly what happened. It went cold. I mean, and we're all on stage, Big Ed included, just about to die laughing.
Oh, yeah.
The old man has put his foot in his mouth this time because it was deathly quiet. It went deathly quiet. Within a millisecond, though, Josh and Brian, I'm telling you, maybe 2 seconds, 3, it was just quick. You start hearing this little ripple of laughter in the background. In the next 5 seconds and 10 seconds, it come unglued. They were laughing. It was the funniest thing. Of course, we're still having to stand there because we know we're not supposed to laugh at somebody else, And so Big Ed didn't laugh, but it got that's kind of a story on Big Jim. But it got so out of hand, he couldn't get him back under control. He just turned around, turned to the band, and said, "Dude, I saw the light. We did." He was here. Well, when Ray got married, when he married Carolyn, I was in his wedding, and Beaver and Macaulay and Charles A.B., everybody, and John Parrick was all, and Beaver kind of took me under his wing. I mean, like a little brother, I didn't have a big brother, and he and I were musically, we did things together, but we didn't do it. Man, he turned me on to so many great things. To this day, I have a couple of devotionals that Beaver gave me.
Yeah. And
Beaver was my confidant. I could talk to Beaver like a brother where I couldn't talk to some of the other guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I, he was, because we had that kind of kindredship. And man, he was always, again, a professional. If you didn't know it, you never knew it, and when he'd sit, and anytime we'd ever have him come up and sing, "The First Time You Came to a Stable," that's on the Upper Window album. And
yes, sir.
And so, that Beaver was special people. He was, you just had somebody that you could trust. Big old teddy bear, he just always fun.
Incredible musician.
Incredible. More better musician than he got credit for.
Yeah.
I mean, Anthony was huge.
Yeah.
And he was, was he the greatest piano player? No, I promise you he's not. But he was the greatest accompanist ever. There's nothing you couldn't throw at Anthony Berger and him not be able to do it. Same thing when he went with Bill Gaither.
Yeah.
Mr. Gaither would say, "Hey, let's do this." And it took about 2 bars, and Anthony, that's his song now.
Yeah.
But Beaver never got the credit due that he needed. Studio work, man, I bet you he played on so many records for groups and things, and not only ours, but just other groups and things. What an incredible musician.
Yes.
How about little Ernie?
He was, man, of course, man, I could say this about everybody, but he was special. He was the little giant. He came in, He run every day. He'd do 100 sit-ups and 100 push-ups. Wow. He was a monster. I mean, he was but he just had that special heart.
Yeah.
Little Ernie, bless his heart, followed probably, if not the greatest, one of the greatest, but I think the greatest tenor of all time is John Parrott.
Yeah.
And come in and people would just, well, he's not Johnny. He's not, but he would just love them and smile. And a lot of people don't understand, a lot of Little Ernie sung about a quarter step sharp his entire life with us. Because back then we had one baby A7 for a monitor.
Yeah.
And that's all the thing we had. And so in front of the monitor, you got Big Jim and Squire, or Big Jim and Daddy, or Wayne. You got Little Ernie over here, and his deaf ears against the monitor. He can't hear anything except the house.
Yeah.
Thing over the pitch a lot of times. But it wasn't, it blended well, and it's okay. But, Little Ernie, there's nobody could have followed John Parrott except Little Ernie Phillips.
Yeah. I agree with that. I agree with that.
Not singing wise, he could do. I mean, he went up on Love Lifted Me. He did something we'd never done before when we recorded that live album, and it hadn't been done since. They've been a lot of people hit it.
Yeah.
A lot of people go for it and hit it, but they've been a whole lot more to go for it and miss it. What he
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Little Ernie, again, just a regular guy, man. He just and he was a team player. I mean, he might not get a feature. Brian, you know this. I mean, if they're liking the bass singer, you're gonna ride the bass singer. They're liking the lead singer, or whoever, whatever them people want, which is the most important thing. The Lord first.
Yes.
But he don't guarantee he's with us all the time.
Right.
But he ain't gonna guarantee his Holy Spirit may not move.
That's right.
As strong. And those people paid their hard-earned dollars to come in there and see you sing and throw Little Ernie off or Anthony fall in the pit. Whatever, those people's what matter.
Yeah.
And so, and Little Ernie was always, everybody loved Ernie. You couldn't help it because he was just.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Greg, this has been great. We appreciate you again joining us on this great episode Behind the Crown podcast. I tell you, I learned some stuff that I didn't know about the Kingsmen, and
this is that useless information, right?
No, that's not useless. Now, I promise you, when it falls on my ears, it means a lot to me, and I appreciate that. Yeah,
and that's an honor. Yes. It's an honor for me to be here, for you, and to be with Brian.
Yeah,
it is. I have my moments, and I don't miss traveling.
Yeah,
I don't miss beating the old road. I play enough drums to keep my whistle wet. But I miss my boys.
Yeah.
That's what I miss. And
I tell you what, let's come back next week, and I want to dedicate an entire episode to talk about your dad and his impact and his influence on the Kingsmen. So let's come back next week on next week's podcast, and we're going to talk about your dad and talk a little bit more about some of the early days of the Kingsmen.
All right. I'd be honored. All right.
Thank you, everybody. Join us. Make sure to join us next week for another great episode featuring Eldridge Fox. That's going to be a great one, but I appreciate y'all joining us on this episode of Behind the Crown podcast. Feel free to listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, YouTube as well. Then also like and follow our Facebook page, Behind the Crown Podcast. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Behind the Crown Podcast with your hosts, Brian Hudson and Josh Griffin. If you would, please like, rate, and share this episode. Join us again for another episode of the Behind the Crown Podcast.